Have you set a deadline for when you will be publishing your first book? Have you? Oh, you have? Great. Awesome. We're good here. What's that? What's my deadline? Oh, simple. July 6th, 2016. What's up, my fellow scribe? Tim here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm in the middle of a brand new series on my word of the year.
I'm so sorry.
Quarter.
That word being failure. Let's be honest. This is not about the word of the year or quarter. It's literally about author failures. Mine specifically. Because I'm going through my biggest failures and examining them. Because I keep making them and I really don't want to. And I figured, why not bring you along on my journey? If you'd like a proper start to the series, I'll have a link to the playlist in the cards above so you can get started there. Today I'm covering my fourth
Biggest
failure. And that is setting a deadline to when I had
To be published.
Yeah, that was smart. Side note here. This video is the first of a two-parter, you could say, with the fifth failure on this list. They kind of go hand in hand. Knowing when you need to have something done by a certain time, it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. It allows you to make a plan to accomplish that deadline. When writing a novel, having a deadline for when your next draft needs to be done is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. For those who plan to publish traditionally, when you sell your novel to a publisher, they're going to put you on deadline, meaning you have to submit a draft by a specific date. So this will help you prepare for that. For those who want to do indie publishing, having a deadline for your draft is still a good thing because it keeps you from just endlessly writing or editing and all that. However, you have to be more disciplined because there are no penalties like in traditional publishing if you miss your deadline. I love deadlines. I've always had some kind of deadline on the draft I'm working on. And as long as that deadline was reasonable, I've never had an issue with it. It was the deadlines that at the time that were out of my control were the problem.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a deadline so much, I gave myself a deadline for when I had to be published by. Now, I believe there were multiple versions or dates of these over time. I'm not exactly sure. Only two I know for a fact, and it's these two that led me to fail. The first one being July 2012. This marked the 6-year anniversary of when I started working on Marks of a Lyra. If you saw my last video, I talked a lot about that one. I was determined to have the first book in this series be the first book I published. Now here's the thing about that. In 2007, Amazon launched the Kindle. It wasn't until 2012 the ebook boom really hit. It took off. And the stigma for being an indie author or published any other way outside of traditional publishing didn't lift until 2016. So going back to 2012, the only way I can meet that deadline was to be publishing traditionally, which I had no control over if my book was purchased by a publisher.
Yeah.
Having a goal to be published by a certain time period isn't a bad thing. It's not. Having a deadline of when you had to be published by
Is.
Deadlines in general for things out of your control are not only
Bad.
but
Stupid.
when I speak of deadlines, for the most part, I'm not talking about a must finish, completed by. That would be an immovable deadline. No, deadlines are target dates, time periods to have a draft finish or, depending on where you are, the overall project finished by. It's locked in, but it can be changed for reasonable reasons. Even when on deadline for a traditional publisher, if you're not going to make the deadline, they will work with you. Don't believe me? Ask Pat Rothfuss and George R.R. Martin.
Hell.
Even J.K. Rowling, who after publishing The Goblet of Fire in a year and it just ruined her, told her publisher, I'm not doing these in a year anymore. The books are too long. I can't do it. You should never move a deadline without a reason.
A good
Reason.
And I'm sorry,
I didn't feel like writing is not a good reason.
I broke all the bones in my hands.
is a good reason.
Firm deadlines that can change if needed are good. Immovable deadlines are moronic. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about deadlines your boss gives you. I'm talking about your personal deadlines. A deadline you set firm, locked in, and will not move.
For any reason.
Here's an example. December 2014. I scrapped Marks of Illyria. Okay, didn't scrap. I put it on the back burner to figure out how to fix the goddamn thing. So should have my goal,
Deadline.
to be published by. I didn't. I was determined to be published in 2016. When you have an immovable deadline and you scrap the project, you rush to get something out. So this is where I'm going to end this video. Everything else ties directly into my next failure, which is
Rushing.
So to wrap up this one, there's nothing wrong with having a deadline. So you've made it to the end of another video. So why don't you go and smash that like button and subscribe. This way you know when all the other failure videos come out. So you just finished your first novel. Should you publish it? Click the video to my right, your left, to find out if you should. Thanks for watching.
Bye.